Dennis and I get into the weeds on clothing systems and layering systems. Talk a lot about synthetic versus merino and the great debate. There's a lot of nuggets in this one. You're going to want to tune in. Make sure you listen. It's probably going to make you spend some money, but that's all right. It'll be worth the listen.
Welcome to the Mountain Dude Podcast, brought to you by Initial Ascent, where we share stories of grit, determination, and the relentless pursuit of growth. This is a space where backcountry hunting meets the deeper lessons of life. Success born from struggle and the art of carrying heavy loads more comfortably, both physically and metaphorically, through faith and perseverance. Join us as we explore the paths that shape us, celebrate victories big and small, and fuel our journey with hope and tenacity. This is the Mountain Dude Podcast, where we climb higher together.
Gear Talk number 2.
Yes. We're going to jump down the rabbit hole of clothing.
Yes.
This time. Yep. So,
this one will probably get deep.
This could.
We'll try to limit to an hour.
I'm excited. We're going to limit it to an hour.
This one, like clothing, is maybe one of my biggest passions when it comes to gear.
Okay, I'm going to learn some things here. This is what I try to do. I try to go into sponge mode when I get around other people that are as passionate as I am about gear.
That's a pro tip right there.
But before we do that, let's grab us a prayer real quick, get this thing kicked off right.
You got us with this one, Dennis?
Yes, sir. Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for this opportunity to just come on here and visit as brothers and talk about the stuff that we're passionate about. We ask that you guide our words. We ask that you guide our hearts. And may we be a shining light to someone out there that needs to hear it. We love you, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so fire away. Let's do it.
Here we go. Well, might as well. Let's start with base layer.
Okay, base layer.
We kind of had this conversation before we got things going. We're just going to start it shoot from the hip.
Okay.
Synthetic merino. Go.
Ooh, he just hit it. He hit the hot topic right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Okay. So I have always been a merino guy. For some reason, I've just never liked the way synthetic feels on my skin.
Okay.
So, with that being said,
which I do get that.
I understand that there are pros and cons to both. Now, I've done both.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of those pros and cons.
Okay. So first thing I can think about, so I'll do the pros and cons of merino. If you want to do pros and cons of synthetic,
I love it.
Okay. So merino, pro, it does wick moisture away from your skin.
Yep.
Con, it holds on to that moisture a lot longer.
Yep.
Synthetic,
pretty much the opposite.
Okay.
In a sense. So with moisture, that synthetic layer is going to dry drastically faster. That's a pro.
Yep.
Con, it's going to hold some odor because of that moisture.
Yeah, and see, that's where I come to when I'm out for multiple days, especially if I'm in the same tent with some other dude.
Yeah.
The merino does not stink. It's got antimicrobial properties.
Yep.
Now, if they could figure out the antimicrobial thing with the synthetic.
And I will say, I have tested a lot of synthetic base layers.
Okay.
Like Sitka. I've tested a lot of Black Ovis stuff. You name it. If a synthetic layer, I've tested a lot of them.
Okay.
Right? There's a few companies that have done a really good job with it.
Okay.
It's not merino.
No.
It's not.
No.
It's really not. No matter what you do, Sitka's, their core lightweight stuff is solid that way. It really does its job when it comes to wicking moisture and then drying quickly.
Uh-huh.
But you're going to get smell from it Yeah. Like it's inevitable. After numerous trips, it's going to happen. I don't know that there's anyone that's going to find a way around that. I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't either. So synthetic wise, you're saying basically the only con, in your opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying is the odor.
Odor, and same as you, comfort. It doesn't bother me, I think, as much as it bothers you because I don't really think about it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a negative thing. It's more so, in my opinion, Merino's more comfortable to me.
Yeah, Merino by far is more comfortable to me.
Same.
And I'm just so used to it. I mean, I will always, typically, at least for the past 10 years, I've always had a Merino T-shirt as a base layer, and then I will go, depending on time of year, I might even stack a Merino long sleeve thinner shirt. I won't even call it a mid layer, but I might stack it on there,
like a 150 base layer over the top of your T-shirt base layer.
T-shirt. It's just like inevitably I'm always going to have that T-shirt on,
right.
And I've got the same T-shirts that I've worn for years. They're First Light, and I've got a couple of the old school 100% Merino.
Okay, OG.
I'm telling you now, and they feel different.
Yep.
But
how's the durability with them?
The durability, that was where they kind of would fall down a little bit.
Yep.
And
I feel like that was an early thing. That's changed from my experience.
Yeah, and now you've got the Merino with a little bit of synthetic in there,
blend.
just a small percentage.
Yep.
So it's kind of a blend. And I've had those T-shirts. I've got two of them, and they're both gray. I forget what they even called them, but it was like the 37.5 technology or whatever. It's been really good, and it's held up.
Okay.
And that's I'm wearing one right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's just I just really like it.
Okay.
I think I'm not. I was wearing one yesterday.
Okay.
Sorry.
That makes sense. You're good.
But so Merino, I've for a base layer, that's where I've gone to.
Still going to, you prefer?
Yeah, it's just the comfort thing for me.
Totally get that.
And I think especially spring, so I'm about to go on a spring hunt, where the weather can be all over the place.
Right.
But I know it's not going to be terribly cold.
Right. You're probably going to get weather rather than low temperatures is what you're getting at.
So I do fine even, and I'll get back, and even at night I'll take that T-shirt and I'll hang it up in the teepee, especially if I've got a stove going and it dries out
absolutely
really quick. But it doesn't bother me because Merino, just because of the qualities that it has, one of the main qualities is it retains about 80% of the warmth when it's wet.
Yeah.
So from a warmth standpoint, it doesn't bother me that much.
Right.
Now, I have to say this. Now, I'm not a super, super cold weather hunter. I've never done a ton of it, below zero type thing.
Right.
So there I may change my tune. I don't know.
On what you prefer?
Majority of the time, 95% of the time that I'm hunting, if it doesn't dry quite as quick as a synthetic, it doesn't bother me that much.
Not even though you say that not being in that extreme cold, when I get to the later seasons, like mid to end of November, I find myself going to Merino more for the comfort reason because I've got lots of layers on. And I like the comfort of a Merino base layer in that setting because I'm kind of the opposite as you. Well, I started wearing a lot of Merinos early on, and I went to almost strictly synthetics the last few years, base layers, and it was for the drying purposes. Like it's so nice to get to the top of a ridge, pop that synthetic top off, hang it in a tree while I'm getting water, starting to glass, and it be dry and 15 minutes. The wind dries it out quick, sun dries it out super quick. That's been the reason that I've gone to synthetics most of the time. but I'm kind of going back towards merino now.
Okay, so when you do that, you're talking about your base layer. You'll rip it off and hang it up. So you're just running around without a shirt on up there?
Most of the time, yeah. If it's nice out, absolutely. If it's not nice, then the mid layer goes on or a puffy.
Okay.
And I'll
where
strip
the base
back down.
layer was.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And that's for a short period of time usually. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like if I get to camp while I'm setting up my tent, if it's nice, I'm going to pop the top, hang that thing in a tree and be shirtless out there.
Okay. So you're synthetic for years, but you're starting to go back toward the merino.
Yep. And it's for the comfort and the odor control.
Okay.
I think comfort is probably the main thing because the odor, I feel like synthetics come a long ways. It's not merino. Mm-hmm. It's probably never going to be merino, but it's the comfort side of it to me. Like I just feel like merino next to skin is really comfortable. And that seems to be the reason that I'm going that direction. The odor is a huge benefit to me too, but it's the comfort is one of the reasons I'm going back to it. Now, my question for you is the synthetic pieces. Did you got your hands on the First Light Yuma, that synthetic hoodie? Is that correct? Did you wear that last year?
I think so.
Yeah. Thoughts on that one?
Because that's synthetic
with the quarter zip, right?
It was comfortable.
Okay.
It really was. Now, I did not wear that as a strict base layer. I still have my merino t-shirt underneath it.
That's different.
So so I don't really know. I don't know. It's hard for me to go with that synthetic feel. I feel clammy.
So the comfort reason.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I feel clammy when that's next to my skin.
I agree with that scenario, and I absolutely, that's something that I feel like you don't notice as much until you put a merino base layer on in that scenario.
Okay.
Similar scenario.
So that's like if probably why I notice it.
Probably. Because on the other end of it, if you're used to primarily wearing synthetics, you're just wearing your synthetic. It dries quick. That's super huge benefit. And, you go to merino and it's like, there's definitely a difference that way.
Yeah, I think, and if you talk to somebody that's used to synthetics, I was listening to something that John Barklow did, and he's a big proponent of synthetics.
He is.
And he was talking about the clammy feeling with the merino.
Interesting.
Which is interesting.
Okay.
So, I
that.
feel just the opposite.
Yeah,
I feel like the merino is softer. It's more comfortable like that. Yep. But then when I put the synthetic on, I do feel more clammy. I'm wearing a synthetic right now, just a long sleeve T-shirt, hoodie type thing.
Yep.
And even against my arms, I'm feeling
kind of bugs
just a little bit clammy, but it's just what you're used to, I think.
Right, I totally agree with that. Well, and another portion of that, that bugs me a little bit about merino is sometimes you get shrinkage with it too. Even air drying, I feel like the more it gets wet, the more you wash it, inevitably it seems to shrink a little bit. Now that's been a brand specific thing in my opinion. There's some brands that get smaller than others. So that's the only other thing that really bothers me with merinos. I know I get a synthetic piece, it's going to fit almost the exact same for the duration of its life.
Okay.
The merino, not so much.
Okay. So, we talked about upper base layers.
Yep.
What about lower base layers? Do you do?
Give me merino.
Merino.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm
stinking comfort factor.
Well, I'll tell you what, and let's go past, what people are thinking right now. They're thinking, like long johns.
Yep.
Which, by the way, I wore long johns for years from Walmart. Yeah. That's all we could afford.
Okay.
It was that cotton.
Yes.
That almost grid fleece
type
I can
still
stuff,
feel it on my legs right now as you're describing it.
Oh, itching like crazy.
Exactly.
And you talk about stink.
Yep.
That
never goes away.
No. And when it got wet, you were done.
Yep.
You were cold. You were just cold.
Like that Under Armour synthetic. Like once it's got the smell, it's got the smell.
Man.
Like it's inevitable.
Man.
Yeah. But when it comes to underwear side of it, like I'm going merino all the time.
Me too. undercarriage smell.
100%.
Even 2 days.
Yeah, one day, and I'm like, I got to have Merino.
Exactly.
Yep.
So speaking of that, I mean, if you go, let's say you go on a 6-day hunt.
Yep.
How many pairs of wear are you bringing?
2.
One that you're wearing and one extra?
One change.
Same here.
Yep.
Same here.
So that's another thing that I wanted to talk about too, is people will often bring too many clothes. So we'll probably come back to that. Let's keep breaking down the layering systems.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes, 2 on that type of a hunt. So now I'm a Merino underwear guy. Merino socks, no question. Like, it's always going to be a Merino sock for me.
Absolutely.
I'm not wearing a synthetic sock.
No question.
Never do. Nope, no thanks. Not interested that way. And then base layers, it is very rare for me to wear like a long john type bottom.
Really?
Very rarely. The one thing that I have found myself doing is I will bring sometimes a super lightweight one in my sleep kit. And the reason I do that is the like sticky, clammy legs at night. No. Can't do that. Drives
I've done that
me
before.
nuts.
I love that, especially like spring bear season.
Absolutely.
I want to take my pants off.
Yep.
And I'll have a contractor bag.
Yeah.
I'll take my pants off and my shirt off.
You don't like the tick sleeping with you?
No. And I know it doesn't matter how long I spend tick checking or my buddies tick checking me or whatever. I will eventually. I always end up with them.
Right.
So I like taking, those pants off out there. I've got my socks on.
That's a pro tip. Everybody write that one down.
Yes, sir. And, hey, you got a contractor bag out there. You put those clothes in there. They keep them out of your tent.
Yep.
And you kind of walk in, tick-free, if you will.
Right.
Now, when I'm running floorless, little dudes can get in there, but I'm not going to bring them in myself.
Right,
is my goal.
Yeah, that's smart.
Right, I'm
very
not
smart.
Help them out.
That's a great pro tip. People ought to take a note of that one if they're not. That switching to that base layer then is like, because I very very rarely wear one outstanding.
Same here.
I just don't just don't. So, but to have that to sleep in is so nice. It really is.
Dude, there's nothing like sleeping in a base layer that, you're not in your hunting pants.
Right.
That's very comfortable.
Socks come off too when you're going to bed?
Nope.
You're a sock guy on.
Here's what I do. I take my clean pair of socks because I'm typically, for 6 days, I'm going to bring 2 extra pairs of socks.
So you're bringing 3 total?
3 total.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is after the first day, especially the hike in, you've sweated a whole lot. Before I go to bed, I'm slipping on a brand new pair of socks.
Smart. Okay.
And that's what I'm sleeping in.
Okay.
I'm pretty much always sleeping in.
So you sleep in socks?
In socks.
Okay.
Yep.
Now that's really smart. If you are going to sleep in socks, change to a clean pair.
Yes.
Now, the military days, like the old adage is you don't wear socks to sleep because that's how fungus grows and your feet start to get issues. So I just never sleep in socks, very rarely, unless it's really cold, and I will do exactly what you do. I'll switch to my clean pair and sleep in them.
Yeah.
Very
One thing
smart
to remember, though, I think with Merino, with the antimicrobial properties to that Merino,
very true.
The fungus can't really grow, or it inhibits it.
Right.
Now, I think that's very helpful compared to some synthetic that didn't have those qualities.
Right.
I think your feet are going to start itching after a day or two.
I think so
continue
too.
To wear that, especially if they're wet. So I do. I like to throw that extra pair of socks on that's dry, and then I'll put my old socks in the bottom of my sleeping bag if I'm not running a stove.
Yeah,
if I'm running a stove, I'll hang them up high and dry them out. But I'll put them in my sleeping bag, and they'll actually dry out in there.
Yep, that's a great pro tip as well. So now my question is, with those 3 pairs of socks, are you keeping one that you wear every night and not reusing that pair, or do you reuse?
That's a great question. I think that's the better way to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm alternating every night. Okay. So I'm typically coming back about halfway through, I'm coming back to that original pair, but they should be dry by then.
Yep.
And if they're a merino wool, then you're not going to have that. In my opinion, you're not going to have that fungus growing. So every third day, I'll come back to that. I think it's third day or fourth day. I'll come back to that first pair.
Okay, good to know. I like that. Okay, now
and if people have different, they can leave comments.
I want to see the comments.
I would love
to
find out what other people are doing and everything. We're always learning.
That's exactly it. You can learn. That's the best part about this industry and these things, in my opinion, is like I learned things from guys that started this like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I never thought of that.
Exactly.
Like, that's a great idea. And then I incorporate it,
That's how us gear geeks do it,
Very true.
We're always looking for, those little nuggets from whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter. Absolutely.
Yep.
So now let's go back to tops.
Okay.
You're wearing a base layer top. Mm-hmm. Does it have to be hooded?
Great question. I wanted to get into this hooded, no hooded conversation.
Yes.
All right. So if I'm doing a base layer, I don't mind if it's hooded.
Okay. Does it have to be hooded?
It doesn't have to be hooded.
Okay.
But it depends on the hunt too. If I'm going to, start out with it as a base layer and I'm going to take off mid layers, during the day, and I'm just going to have that on, I want to have a hood for
sun protection.
Sun protection.
Okay. Yep.
So, and the thing is if you have that mid layer on top with the thin base layer type hooded quarter zip or something like that, you can't feel the hood back there.
No.
It doesn't bother you. I'm not a big fan of stacking hoods.
Yeah.
But with my bald head, I'll stack some hoods.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay.
So my mid layer hardly ever has a hood.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But then my puffy layer and, of course, my rain layer will always have hoods.
Yep. Okay. So doesn't have to have a hood. Early season hunts, when it's hot, you're bringing a hood. Mm-hmm. Does it have to be quarter zip?
I really like quarter zip. The reason, because I can regulate my temperature really easily with the quarter zip.
Okay, same scenario. That's exactly where I'm at. I'm used to be primarily only wore hooded base layers. I've gone a little bit away from that, but I only go away from that if it's like a mid-season hunt where I know I'm probably not going to go down to a base layer.
Okay.
So or even for example, on this bear hunt, I knew the drastic weather differences that we were going to get. Mm-hmm. I probably wasn't going to be super active midday during those, so it wasn't a huge deal for me to have a hood to keep sun protection because I can throw a tarp up. Okay. So I went short sleeve, no hood, and then my mid layer has a hood.
Okay.
So that has been something that I constantly play around with, but my base layer, if it is going to be hooded, has to have a quarter zip in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just a must for me. I won't even go without one. It's just, I have to be able to regulate that temperature, and to dump heat in that area is so important in my opinion. You've always got a vinyl harness on. Mine hardly ever comes off.
Right.
To be able to regulate temperature there is an absolute game changer to me. Yep. And that hood serves so many purposes. Sun protection, we already talked about that, but also when like on a stock or something, I feel like that helps break up your silhouette a little bit.
Absolutely.
And so that is something that I want. Like if I'm on an archery deer hunt in the early season where I know I'm going to be in the sun and I know I'm going on stocks, I want a hooded base layer.
Yep.
But it's got to be quarter zip.
It's got to be quarter zip.
Got to be, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And that's what I've thought about, just kind of venturing to doing that only. Mm-hmm. But you know how you get used to certain things. Like I was telling you about the T-shirt thing.
Yeah.
I'm still going to wear, if I wear a thin base layer over the top of that T-shirt, the T-shirt's just like part of me.
Okay. So you're doubling up base layers a lot of those scenarios.
A lot of times.
Okay, interesting.
And I never get, even as warm as it could get, I never get hot. Okay. And I think that's part of how the merino works as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll have that T-shirt on. It's just my staple. I've never gone without it really. So I wear that, but I wear that quarter zip because I can still release a lot of heat that way.
Yeah.
Or if I need to zip that sucker up, I can do that. So mid layer, what are you looking like for mid layer?
So I actually on this my favorite mid layer is some sort of active insulation piece. Okay. I want something.
When you say that, what do you mean? Like grid fleece?
Yes, that's a preference. Yep, some sort of active insulation that I can wear sitting, but I can also use packing out on a stalk, etc. So like this last bear hunt, I used the First Light Navigator hoodie.
Okay.
And I would buy that thing 100 times over.
Oh, wow.
Like absolutely thrilled with that piece. Okay. I think First Light did a phenomenal job with that. Like the old school Sitka active jacket, short sleeve, hooded quarter zip. That thing was gold to me. I wore that for years just because I feel like that fits my hunting style and it fits so many needs. Like I can layer with that. The short sleeves was a cool concept. I actually really liked it. I know they discontinued it and went to the ambient. I had the ambient as well. Like most of those active type jackets I've had because I love that active style installation and I love the purpose that it serves. So that is something that I'm always bringing on hunts. What I really loved about that Navigator is it's a quarter zip style, which I prefer. I know Go Hunt, I don't know what they're calling their jacket right now. I'd have to look it up again.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But that's a sweet looking piece. It is a full zip, which I don't like as much as a quarter zip on my mid layer. Personally, there's pros and cons. The nice part about that is you can put it over the top of your bino harness. But then I feel like it's a little bit bulkier and I don't love that as much. So I think that's a give or take on either end of that. But the other thing I really like about that Navigator hoodie is the kangaroo pocket is above my hip belt.
Oh, that's big.
Higher up. Yep. That was some of the conversations I had with them over there. Like I'm a huge fan of that portion of it because I can still get my hands in there.
Yep.
Still utilize that if I need to. And the other thing that I really like about that type of a piece, especially in spring, like when I killed that bear and we started packing him out, it was probably in the 30s.
Wow.
It was cold, really cold. It was 1 o'clock in the morning by the time we got that bear broke down and, relished in the moment. And so it's cold, but you're also exerting a lot of, you need to dump a lot of heat during that pack out with a heavy pack on.
Yeah.
So to be able to just wear that piece, with a base layer, I had a merino t-shirt underneath it. That was a game changer because it does its job by wicking away moisture and breathing really well during high exertion. But then when I stop, that Primal style insulation is doing a good job of keeping me warm too during that. So I was a big fan of that piece.
I might have to try that because that sounds like I always go back and forth between like a grid fleece type deal or a I have some merino mid layers as well, and that's going to be more like your 230 type thickness. But those they're heavy.
They can be heavy.
And so that I'm starting to do more of the grid fleece type thing or the synthetic on the mid layer. So you're doing a hood there?
Yeah, I prefer a hood. I had the ambient jacket without a hood from Sitka for a while. And I didn't find myself wearing it a whole lot because I feel like when I'm putting on a jacket, it's the piece before my puffy. So I'm usually trying to get out of the weather a little bit. Like if it comes on, it's coming on for a reason. In that scenario, especially a full length zip, in my opinion, it's got to have a hood. Because I'm usually putting it on for the wind or some sort of cool temperature. And without a hood, I just don't think it serves its purpose, in my opinion. Which you said you don't usually have one?
Well, yeah, I try not to stack hoods, too much. So I typically, most time, a long sleeve base layer, I'll have a hood on that. And so I can take a grid fleece that the neck comes up on it. And it's a quarter zip most of the time. And so I can do that and then for 90% of what I'm doing, especially springtime, that's just great for me. And then when when I'm sitting up there glassing, if it's early in the morning or especially late in the evening, which, with bears, I'm probably doing a lot more late in the evening type stuff, because that's when we
bears come out.
Yeah, that's when we see more
inevitably.
of them. And so, then I've got my hoodie or my Puffy on there. And I'm only wearing my Puffy pretty much because I told you I didn't do a whole lot of that below zero type stuff. I'm only bringing that Puffy out either on the glass and knob or sitting around camp.
Right. Yep. Same.
Never, ever hiking with it.
Okay.
When I'm hunting.
Really?
Yeah, I never hike with my Puffy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because
we're going to get to Puffies. I do end up in mine sometimes on hikes during those late seasons.
So that now we're talking about, late season, like it's getting really bitterly cold and the wind's blowing, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm still.
So what's your go-to mid-layer been?
It's been a grid fleece. Of different brands.
Yep.
I really like that grid fleece though.
Okay. I think that's a game changer, which is what that Navigator is. That's why it seems to, it keeps you warm when you're stopping, and it wicks moisture really well. I had to look up, it's the Go Hunt Atmosphere jacket, which I know some of the guys around the shop have been using it around here.
I've got it too.
Do you? Okay.
That's been a nice jacket. It really has, because if you're chilled, early in the morning, that's a great piece to throw on, and then you can kind of continue to rock it. On up to like 65 degrees or something like that. It's really comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's a piece I might take with me. Versus the grid fleece this time. I don't know. I haven't decided that yet.
Okay.
Dude, I don't know if this is you or not, but I am back and forth on a couple of things right up until the minute that I leave for the hunt.
Okay. Yeah.
Or it may be right up until the minute that I take off on the trail.
Yeah.
I may have
throw a couple
of different pieces in my truck, in that bag I talked about.
Yep.
Just in case I change my mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes that kind of bites me in the butt, but
I could see that. Usually once I dial my clothing system, it doesn't change.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that ever changes is my base layers, because like I talked about, if it's an early season, I want my hooded base layer. If it's late season or even mid season and I can get away with a long sleeve without a hood, I'm totally going to do that if I can. Because if I know I'm not taking off that mid layer and I can be more comfortable without the hood, and I don't have to stack them. Because like I said, I prefer a mid layer with a hood. Almost all the time. Like that was the one reason that ambient jacket, which I just got rid of, I didn't wear it a whole lot because I got the jacket version and not the hoodie version that they sold. And I just didn't wear it very often because I want a hood on my mid layer. If I'm going to put it on, it's usually for that reason. But I do see what you're talking about with being able to pull up a collar, and that makes sense to me.
Now let me tell you another piece that I've been using a lot of the last couple years. That's the Duckworth powder hoodie.
Okay. I have seen this thing. It looks, so this is the piece that kind of looks like
like you're a hobo.
Sherpa jacket style.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like you're homeless.
Yeah. Is it yours green?
I've got a green one and I've got a gray one too.
Okay, I think I've seen it then. Yes.
Yeah.
That thing looks so comfortable. Talk to me about that piece.
I'm telling you, it is the most comfortable thing. So, if I'm not wearing my grid fleece, that's merino. It's 100%
right
merino. So it doesn't look the same as it did when I got it in.
It's taking some use.
The washer, the dryer. I'm sure I'm not supposed to do all that, but it's just such a comfortable piece, and I can wear it. I can wear it on till it gets 60, 65 degrees.
No kidding.
Which has been kind of amazing. It's got a hood and all that, but that's a piece that I've been rocking for a while now, and I really like it. Man, you talk about something when like the spring winds kick up,
okay, that makes sense.
Early in the morning, and if it's windy, or late in the evening when you're glassing and the wind picks up,
right?
Man, that thing is money. So there's been times where I won't even bring out the hoodie.
No kidding.
Or the Puffy? The Puffy.
No kidding.
That thing just
performs well.
Now, it doesn't compact down.
So that was my question. Are you taking that on backcountry hunts very often?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Worth it to you.
I can even hike in that thing.
No kidding.
If
wicks
it's
moisture that well.
It does. It really does. I can hike in it. Now, here's a negative about that particular piece. As it's got a lot of wool balls on it now, and the surface area
looks like it's been used.
Oh, the surface area has grown.
Yeah,
on this, probably 4 times what it started out.
Okay,
just because you got the little lint balls everywhere, and it's just breaking down.
Yeah.
So for a spring hunt, ticks have lots of places to be.
Ooh, I never thought about that.
And they're really hard to see on this particular piece.
That makes sense.
So that's where I'm not as big a fan of it. But I tell you what, it is a piece. It's one of those pieces that you would bring on every hunt.
Okay. You like it that much.
Other than, like really early season, warm weather type hunts.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. I might have to check that one out because I've seen you wear it.
Yeah,
it's a sweet looking piece.
You kind of look like you're homeless, but
you also look like you're comfortable.
You look like,
and you look like you're in a
very
little,
comfortable.
Like you're in a little wool blanket.
Yes, that's what it feels like.
That's what it looks like. So I totally can absolutely feel what you're saying right
man.
now.
Yeah, and it's Duckworth. They're right there in Montana. And, it's.
Okay. I might have to get my hands on one of those and try it out.
You should. You should. It's called the powder hoodie, I think is what it's called.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk pants before we go to outer layer style jackets. Now that probably, I would imagine in your scenario, varies drastically depending on the style of hunt and the season.
The pants?
Mm-hmm. Or are you running similar pants all the time?
I'm running similar pants all the time.
Okay.
There for years I was wearing those Prana Stretch Zion ones.
Yep.
But one thing about them, unless they have that little belt, that little
tighten down
piece, it's not webbing, but it's just a piece of, of a belt.
Like a
it's
nylon.
Not a true belt, but it's got a ladder lock on it, and you can just pull it and tighten it up.
Yep.
Unless it has that, they stretch and they'll stretch out.
Yeah.
So they're bagging off of you, and I don't like that. But man, comfy. They, you can move in them and all that. But I've since found some pants that I really like in those 308s.
Yeah, that's a pant that doesn't seem to stretch on you. I've been super pleased with that.
Yeah, same here. It doesn't seem to stretch out to where it's falling off of you. The fit is really good. Mm-hmm. It dries extremely quickly.
It does.
So I've been real happy with those.
Okay. And now you're wearing that into a later season style hunt.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And now are you wearing a lined 308 pant, or you're just wearing the same 308 pant and potentially putting...
Yeah, I do have another pair of pants, and I forget what it's called. They're cryptic pants.
Okay.
And I've really liked that. Maybe it's... I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it's thicker.
A later season style of pant.
Yeah, but they don't fit me as well though.
So the fit fits everything in pants.
Fits everything in pants. You're exactly right. So I'll probably go to whatever that thicker version of the 308 is.
Yep. The 308 lined, I think is what they call it. Yep. It's got a fleece lining in it. Okay. Yeah. I'll be curious to see what you think of those. So similar. I really like the 308 line pant. I did a entire gear review last year on the Black Ovis clothing line system, and bang for your buck, probably one of the best brands in my opinion when it comes to price point and gear. That was awesome. Their Granite Peak lightweight pant, that thing is legit.
Really?
Yeah. Very,
I gotta
very
try
pleased
that.
with that. I love the way it stretches. One thing I don't like about it, no hip vent. But it is a super lightweight pant, so I didn't notice the heat as severely. But in my opinion, at this point, it's got to have a hip vent for me.
I know.
I got to be able to dump heat.
And the hip vent needs to have some mesh.
Oh, okay.
In there.
We might disagree here.
And hear me out.
I'll listen. I'm all ears.
Just for spring.
Okay, yes. Early season, spring, put mesh in there.
Put mesh in there. The rest of the time, I don't care.
Yep, same.
But the point that we can agree on is it has to have a hip vent.
Yep.
It makes all the difference in the world.
It's a game changer.
It is.
It literally changes
you can
things.
Dump that heat so quickly. It's just like having a rain jacket without pit vents.
That's pointless.
That's right.
That makes no sense to me anymore. Like the hip vents are an absolute game changer. So that 308 line has become my go-to pant as well, for anything early season. Now, when I get to mid to late season, it is the Catalyst Foundry from First Light. Oh. That green pant that I was wearing on that elk hunt, full length zip, knee pads. I love having knee pads in a mid to late season pant.
Yep.
Now the other part of that, it is a heavier pant. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So it is warmer. But I can also open that thing up all the way down past my gaiters if I want. So like I wore it mid-October on that elk hunt.
Yeah.
And we had some fairly warm weather at some points. We also got a couple inches of snow.
Yes.
So the nice part about that is when I'm active, I can open that thing up down to my gaiters and really breathe.
Yep.
But I can zip that thing back up. It repels moisture really, really well. Yep. It's got knee pads in it. And they are just comfortable, but they're also bomb-proof. Like I have abused those pants. Like hunting the brush and the rocks. I used to wear the Sitka Timberline pant with the waterproof knee, waterproof butt, and knee pad. But you can't dump heat in them. There's no hip vent. And I used to love that pant until I tried the Catalyst Foundry pant, and I won't go back.
Okay.
I'll
be getting me a pair of those for late season.
Yeah, it's a game changer that way. The other thing that I really like so here's the point where I don't want mesh in my later season pants.
Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Because I can remove, very rarely, like we talked about, do I wear long johns? But I can remove my long johns without taking off my boots or even unbuttoning my pants. Because I can open that hip vent up. A lot of brands are making removable full zip long johns now. I can literally unzip my long johns, undo the Velcro, and pull them out of the side of that thing. Put them away.
That's cool. Yeah.
And so that is the reason I don't want mesh in my hip vents mid to late season pant.
I can see where you're coming from. That makes a lot of sense. Me, now I've never owned a pair of the zip up long johns.
Okay. Yep.
I do have to try those.
You do. You'll never go back once
really?
you do. Yeah.
I just can't imagine a zipper.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Close to me like that, and feeling the zipper.
I didn't even notice it.
Really?
On those,
so it's still comfortable.
I don't notice it.
Okay.
And maybe now that you say that, maybe I'll notice it. I don't know.
So.
But knowing you and not liking synthetic rubbing up against you might not be able to do the zippers.
Right.
You might,
So what's the difference in opening up your hip vent all the way, to your gaiters and pulling those things, you're zipping off your long johns and you're pulling those things out the side. Is it quicker to do that and more comfortable to do that than it is just to show the whole world what you got on underneath? Drop those things to the tops of your gaiters, your pants.
Yeah.
And then just rip them off that way and twirl them around a few times.
Put on a whole show for everybody.
Well, have your buddy play some music.
Absolutely.
All that good stuff.
See if he's got any dollar bills.
Make a whole production out of it.
Absolutely. Okay. So the difference is the cold.
Okay.
So, like, if it's really cold out and
Yeah.
the only reason I'm taking those off is to get ready to go, maybe we're going on a stalk or we're about to hike out, whatever it may be, that's when I'm taking those long johns off. Or it's midday now and it's started to heat up a little bit, but it's still cold. I just know I'm going to be more active.
Got you.
Whatever that may be, I don't have to remove my pants entirely to do that. Like, the hip fit's open, but I'm still covered the rest of the way around with my pant.
Gosh, it makes a lot of sense.
Yep. And with the zip off style long john, I don't have to take my boots off.
That's
a game changer. Because one, it's annoying. That means gaiters, boots have to come off. They got to go back on.
It's a whole production.
But it's also cold, man. Yeah. That time of year, I don't want my toes out. Like,
I know, because inevitably that your socks are sweaty.
Yep, and it's freezing.
And then heck, it could be snowing.
Right.
But I agree. So that's one reason why I went away from long johns or wearing a bottom base layer.
Yep, same.
Was because of that fact right there. Having to take my boots off. And so I haven't tried those zip ups.
You've got to do it.
I think I will.
Yeah, you got to try it. On some late season stuff, you got to try it. I don't wear them that often, but when I do, and I can take them off whenever I want, it is so nice.
Yeah.
It really is. Like that, I think it was the morning after you guys left that elk hunt this last year. I put them on that day because that's when we had 3 inches of snow.
Yeah.
I bet it was
out in it.
Yeah. The following morning after that, it was probably single digits. My boots were froze together.
Ooh.
So I put them on that morning, hiked in with them, and then did the whole show, got them off, twirled them around. There's probably some footage of that somewhere.
Matt had some music going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, that's the only time that I seem to use them is in that scenario.
Okay.
And I really like them then. So, but it's got to have the zip. I won't go back to like a standard.
I'm going to check that out, man.
Type.
I really am. I'm going to check it out. I do have a couple late season hunts this year that those are going to come in handy. And I think those Foundry pants you were talking about, Corrugate Foundry?
Catalyst.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking the Corrugate Guide pants.
Yep. And that is another pant that they make, but it's a little different style. I haven't tried that, but I really like that Catalyst because it's kind of got that soft shell material.
Yes,
like that Catalyst jacket. So it's a little bit of a soft shell, repels the wind, repels the moisture really well. And like I said, I've beat those things up. The country we're hunting. It's rocks and brush, and they look pretty good. I've beat them up, and they're still holding strong.
So the soft shell type thing, that's the advantage to a soft shell is that it's basically windproof or wind resistant, and it does repel water really well.
Right.
A lot of the soft shell, I would get that clammy feeling in there because I didn't feel like they breathe.
They don't
as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's hence cutting the wind and all that. So. With that being said, one of the things that if you've ever watched John Barklow's 8-piece layering system, which I think is awesome.
Phenomenal. Check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one piece in there that I don't use, but I wonder about, and I wonder if you've used it or not. And that's once you get to your mid layer, he likes to put on a wind
blocker,
or a wind, and it's a really thin type deal that just blocks the wind. You do that at all, or have you ever?
Not really, no. What I've done in that scenario is a rain jacket over the top of my Puffy.
That's I think that I could skip that that step,
that layer.
Even
totally
agree. If it's too warm for, let's say it's too warm for the Puffy.
Yep.
But the wind's kind of whipping and it's got that chill on it.
Yep.
I'll throw that rain jacket on.
Absolutely.
And it'll cut the wind.
Yeah.
I'll open up pit vents.
Exactly.
I can breathe and.
Yep. But it cuts the wind just enough. Well, while we're on the topic of that, let's move to puffies.
Okay.
What's the go-to Puffy bin for you?
So I'm always tinkering.
Yep,
right?
I like it.
So every year I have a different Puffy.
I love that actually.
Out. There's a couple things I want in Puffy. I want, I'm a a guy that likes the down. Okay. And so I like it for its packability, for its weight. I don't. Yeah, its warmth to weight ratio is huge.
It is.
And I always put it one place in my pack. And
does it go in your cub?
It'll either go in the cub or it will go in that first stretch pocket, the big one. So I've gone there. I've gone with Western Mountaineering.
That thing's huge.
That is huge.
Like
I've done the Black Ovis Puffy.
The
Black Ovis.
The Recon down or the Anchor Point, their lighter weight one?
I can't remember.
So big Puffy, or is it the lighter weight, thinner?
This would be probably the Anchor Point.
Okay, I've
done that
down
one.
Puffy.
But the Western Mountaineering, it's expensive.
Very expensive.
It's expensive, but man, it's hard to beat. The warmth to weight ratio in that jacket is really awesome.
Yeah.
Now they don't have it in a camo or anything like that, but I don't typically wear a camo,
Puffy anyways.
Yeah. What about you?
Puffy wise, here we go. Okay, so this is a rabbit hole for me. I'm the same way. I really like trying different puffy jackets, and I've been all over the map. Worn the Recon down, worn a plethora of them. Tried whatever that smoke hoodie they have from Sitka. I've tried that. I'm actually running, and you saw this. It was that Uncompahgre Foundry Jacket.
Yes,
I love that thing.
I wore the Uncompahgre, the original one.
Yeah, okay.
For years, I wore that thing.
Synthetic insulation, but it's...
Yep, it was good.
Yeah.
Until the zipper blew out on it.
Okay.
But it took years for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So this Foundry Jacket is a synthetic insulated... It's an Unk Puffy. Synthetic Puffy jacket, but it's a rainproof water jacket. So you have your rain jacket included pretty much.
Okay.
So it's bulletproof. That thing is tough. I lived in that thing during that elk hunt. So the second half of that elk hunt after you guys left was cold most of that hunt. We got snow, we got it all. We got rain, terrible weather. When we went back in November, same scenario. Snow the entire time, obviously.
Yeah.
And I lived in that jacket. It was cold. We got extreme weathers, and even hiking in the cold, it's got pit zips because it's the rain style jacket. And the nice part about that is I found myself when I would bring a puffy and a rain jacket, I almost never pulled that rain jacket out unless it was a severe downpour. It just stayed in my jacket. I just hated putting all the layers back together to pack back up. So I get to a glassing knob and this rain jacket will cut the wind, but it's I'll just deal with it, wear my puffy jacket. Now they're the same thing, and it's almost the exact same weight as it would have been. It's literally half an ounce, maybe, if I remember correctly when I weighed them, as that Black Ovis Recon and a rain jacket, either a Black Ovis or the First Light that's storm tied. So
that's interesting.
Same weight, same jacket.
Yeah.
I don't have to bring multiple layers.
Well, and it's not going to take up as much room as the multiple layers, correct?
Yes. So that is the only downside. Yeah. So that's
good rain jacket.
Correct. So that's the only downside is it doesn't pack up great.
Okay.
Because it's a synthetic jacket and it's a rain jacket.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit bigger, but I can get that and my puffy pants and one other thing in my cub, which is all I want. That's perfect for me. So with that jacket, I have found I won't go away from it. I started selling all my other puffies because I was doing the same thing you were doing. I was bringing those other jackets on a hunt, and then they stayed at the truck.
Yeah,
because I'm this is what I want to wear. It's durable, pit zips, so I can breathe those really cold hunts where I'm wanting to wear a puffy jacket while I'm walking around because we're not sprinting after animals. We're just covering some country looking to get to another glassing point or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I can wear that, open up my pit zips and be totally comfortable. And now I don't have to put multiple layers back to move.
Do you ever see yourself, because of temperature, going back to, do you want to stay versatile to where you do have a puffy and
yes.
a rain jacket separate?
Yep.
Say if, it's 50 degrees and downpouring rain and you're having to hike to the next, spot or whatever.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah,
That's the time where I could see it.
Correct.
Coming in handy to have both, right?
Exactly.
Because you're just hiking with your rain jacket on, but
exactly.
you don't want to hike with your puffy on. It's
nope.
too warm. So.
That's exactly where that difference is. And that's why I keep that other setup, because if it's probably mid-May to maybe mid-September, there's some crazy stuff that happens in September that I think you would. Two. Yep, I'm going to split it back, and I'm going to go back to, but anything from mid-September to April, even the first part of May on bear hunts, I'm taking that jacket.
Yeah.
It's bomb-proof.
That's awesome.
I've got everything I need in it that I want. I get what I want out of it, and it's the same weight. So, yeah, I lose a little bit of the compressibility, but I'll sacrifice that all day long for what I get out of that jacket. And I love that piece.
Wow. Well, okay. So I'm going to talk to the audience for just a second.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are getting some golden nuggets out of this conversation. This is geek stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I freaking love it.
Yep. I do too.
But there's one downfall to this whole conversation. Not only are you going to cost me more money, but you're probably going to cost our audience more money with these tips that you're throwing out there. So it's all good.
Yeah, you're not
just
wrong.
Save your money, guys, and
yeah,
that's why we have gear closets.
100%.
So we can accumulate these types of things and then figure out what works for us.
Yep. So here's a pro tip on that, because everything does cost money. Mm-hmm. And what I have found myself doing now is I sell the gear that I don't use as frequently. So I go a year, if I didn't use this and it doesn't serve one of the purposes that we talked about during a certain season,
yep,
it gets sold for it, because I'm always tinkering. We're in the same boat as you are. I sell that. That goes to a certain stash to buy the new thing or whatever else I want to try next.
Okay.
So that gear closet,
really good tip.
Use that gear closet. If you haven't touched it in a year and you're not emotionally attached to it for a good reason, get rid of it. Sell it. You can buy another piece. You can buy that piece again, or you can buy another equivalent afterwards.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to buy that same thing, now you get the next thing you want to test or try out.
This is a great reminder for us all, because you know what's going to happen when I go home today. I'm going to go to my gear closet and I'm going to look at everything that I haven't used in the last year.
Yep.
And I'm going to take it off the hanger, and it's going on for sale. So,
so look at Dennis's Facebook Marketplace.
I don't have Facebook. I'm not on social media. Me. But you can probably look on somebody else's Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. And here's Dennis's closet.
That's right. My closet will be on somebody else's Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other place that you sell stuff like that? I mean, you've got Craigslist, obviously.
Yeah,
and
I don't.
Marketplace.
Facebook
Are there any
Marketplace works
forums
so well.
Maybe that you could sell stuff like that?
I think Rockslide does one.
Maybe.
Yep. I've never used it for that.
Yep.
That's a great idea, though, because as often as I sell gear, because it's a regular thing for me.
Yeah.
Like that's what I do every year, usually going into the year, is I get rid of all the stuff I didn't use the whole last year.
Yeah.
So I can buy the next thing I want to try.
And now's a great time to do it.
It is. People are gearing up.
People are gearing up. And, you've got time, because you don't want to wait till August to purchase all these things that we're talking about, because they won't be available.
Correct.
Or it'll take them forever to get here.
Yep.
Order them first part of the summer maybe.
Yep. And you're not going to know how it fits in your system either.
Yeah.
Buy it now. Take it on those spring hunts. If you're not going to commit and hunt spring bear or turkeys, that's all right. Take it on your scouting trips.
Yep.
Take it out. Get used to some of those pieces now, because it's going to make a difference.
Yep. Use it. That's the big thing, man. You got to use this gear and figure it out before you go out on a hunt. So I'm taking a brand new piece of gear this trip that I've never used in the Peaks Torrid stove.
Ooh,
I'm taking
that
a
thing
stove.
looks sweet.
It does, but over the next couple of days, I'm gonna take that thing and put it together.
Yep, smart.
I'm gonna get on Bryce's video, and I'm gonna look at how to put it together. It's already broke in and all that stuff, so I'm gonna set it up.
Good.
Really get to where I know it like the back of my hand before I get out there.
That's a great tip.
The thing you don't want to do. Same thing with your packs. We tell the folks all the time about your packs. Tear that thing apart. Take it apart. Put it back together. Get to know it before you're out there at 11:30 at night and you're trying to load up an animal on a pack system that you're not real familiar with.
Yep.
And it's just playing with it. Have fun with it and get to know it.
Absolutely, because inevitably in that scenario, you don't put something back on and now there's strain on something else and now you're just trying to induce fail points in a scenario where you don't want anything to fail.
You don't want anything.
It's the same thing with your gear, your clothing systems, your tents. Like you start setting things up wrong, you get a storm. Guess what? Now your guy out's ripped out because you had one guy out and not what you needed to have in that scenario.
Exactly.
So that's a great tip.
How about going back to clothing? How about gloves? What's your glove system look like?
Oh boy. Okay. So I love good gloves, but I hate bringing multiple gloves. And I have always found a hard time finding a glove that kind of fits all. Mm-hmm. But I've been wearing, I think they call it the Cody from First Light.
Okay.
Everybody loves a leather glove, right?
Sure.
Like I grew up wearing leather gloves, working on the farm. I like leather gloves. Mm-hmm. This is an insulated leather glove, and I love it. The nice part about it is I can use it in a stove scenario. I can use it to tend to fire. I'm not worried about it that way, and it's super durable, but it's also got some insulation, and they're really, really comfortable. Okay. That's been my go-to glove. Actually, even though it was mid-April and we knew we'd get some cold weather on this last bear hunt, I didn't even bring a mitt or a puffy style glove, which I will do that sometimes in my glassing scenarios. Like late season November on my elk hunt, I've got a glassing mitt puffy because it's freezing. Like you got to have it.
Yeah, I'm typically wearing a 2-glove system in that in that scenario. I like a something to where I can feel things, but then I'm always wearing a mitt over the top, whether it be, the big mitts that look like crab claws. Yep. I'll either do that because when you keep your fingers together, you can also slip those hot hands up in there
100%
as well. I do like those puffy mitts. Yep. As long as the weather's decent.
Yeah. You can't have storms in it or that stuff doesn't perform.
That's tough. But typically I'm always bringing gloves. I've got some First Light. They're pretty thin. They're not merino, but they're pretty thin.
Okay.
I can feel things with them.
Yep.
It's a great glove that I could wear through the morning.
The Talus or something like that.
Something like that.
Okay.
I've started using those, but I am a big fan of the leather gloves.
Yeah.
Old school rancher style gloves.
Nice.
Yeah. I've got a cheap pair from D&B over here that I wear a lot. Yeah. But it doesn't have any insulation. So that's where I'll wear that Talus or whatever underneath.
You ought to check out the Cody glove from First Light. I love that glove for that reason because I've always did the same thing. I brought a leather glove because they just fit well. Yeah. They're comfortable. But to have that insulation in them too, they keep me warm. Yeah. I've been very, very happy with them. That's a sweet glove in my opinion. They're a little bit heavier.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That sounds like a really, really cool concept. I mean, I've worn leather gloves that are insulated and everything. Yep. But nothing as technical as that's probably going to be.
It's a big difference. It really is.
Because if your hand sweats in there, then all of a sudden you just put your hand into because that doesn't dry out in there.
No. And these do a really good job of that. I don't know exactly how they've designed it because obviously owning an excavation company, it's not uncommon for me to be running a shovel in December, sadly. in the snow. And I've got cheaper gloves that I'll wear at work, and they never perform well. Yeah. But I take those Cody gloves on a backcountry hunt in the late season, and they seem to perform really well. So I don't know what the technology that they've done in that, but I've been very, very happy with it.
Wow. So you got me spending more money.
That's right. The gear closet's going away.
Golly,
you're going to be selling a bunch of it. So you're
eBay's going to be busy.
Yeah.
I am on eBay.
eBay. There you go.
Sell them on eBay.
That's perfect.
I've got a buddy of mine that dude, he is an eBay selling fool.
All right. Well, now you know who to hit up.
Yeah, exactly. Say, hey, let me give you, I'll give you 10% of the proceeds, if you could put everything on.
Here's your fee. Me. Yeah, exactly. Right. So let's stay on puffies. Okay. Puffy pants or no?
Yes, sir.
A game changer.
It always comes with me.
Is there a hunt you leave it on?
Nope.
Really? August, mule deer, July scouting?
Here's why. August mule deer. But, man, you get those storms that roll in the afternoons, and you get hail and wind and all that stuff.
Yep.
I'll throw them on.
Yeah.
So I would say, probably not. But here's another thing that they do for me. One, if I'm needing more insulation, because say I brought a 30-degree bag, and we get a storm and it all of a sudden drops down into those teens or something like that, I'll throw my puffy pants on. I will never, ever, ever bring a 0-degree bag.
Really? Okay.
I just won't.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you, Puffy. The 0-degree bag, I have to bring my 8K, even if I'm out there for one night. Okay. I have to bring my 8K because it takes up half of it.
I do understand that portion. I bring a 10-degree quilt all the time.
Okay.
And that's what stretches out my 5K to a full
I love a quilt.
I do too. I take that thing in the late season too.
Yeah.
So back to puffy pants, same scenario. Always taking puffy pants.
Always.
Maybe July scouting, no. August, probably still going to be with me. Now, the other reason to that, like this last April trip when we were talking about wearing a base layer to sleep so you don't have the clammy legs, I didn't bring a lightweight base layer to save on some weight. I knew I'd wear my puffy pants, so guess what I ended up sleeping in a lot of times?
Really?
It wasn't cold enough that I needed to, but with a quilt, I can open that thing up and sleep comfortable.
That's interesting.
And so I slept in a couple nights, slept in the puffy pants with just a base layer t-shirt on.
Okay.
And it was perfect for that reason.
Here's another thing I do with my puffy pants, and the reason that I bring them on pretty much all hunts.
Yep.
I put that thing in my cub, which cub's always with me.
Yep. Okay.
Now, in the bottom of my cub, I have a 1-inch piece of foam.
Okay.
In there. Always.
Okay.
You know where I'm going with
I know
this,
where you're going. Yeah, I'm excited.
Puffy pants on top. You sit down on that, and it's like you're sitting on a pillow.
Yeah.
And for my bad back,
if
I don't bring my Crazy Creek chair or whatever, man,
that's a game changer.
It is. Or if I'm sitting for 10 hours, I'll throw the cub in the Crazy Creek with
smart.
That right there.
Oh man,
it's
that's
money.
Genius.
Well, you always try to, make multiple uses out of pieces of gear.
Oh, 100%.
And when we develop stuff here at Initial Ascent, that's what we try to have in mind, as well.
Yep.
So, puffy pants are always coming.
That's a golden nugget right there. That's something that people need to take into consideration because you can use that thing for so many pieces.
Oh, man.
I love it. Okay. Puffy pants, game changer. Usually the Black Ovis.
Yeah.
Recon down pant.
Love those.
That's a super lightweight, affordable pant for people. The only time I go away from that pant, First Light makes they call it their White Cloud bib. It's a little different. I've done the Sitka 3/4 puffy pants. Didn't love them. Felt like when I wanted that puffy pant, it was really cold and my gaiters didn't quite do enough. This bib is designed to be worn 3/4. I don't wear a 3/4. It's big enough I can stretch that thing down, but there is something to be said about keeping that area of your body warm where those organs are.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Okay. Vest or no vest?
Oh, we didn't even touch on vest.
We didn't touch on vest, but I've got one sitting in the back seat of my truck, and it is right there by my pack, which is fully ready.
Yep.
And the vest is to take the vest or not to take the vest.
All the time. That conversation happens, right?
The one I've got is the black Ovis.
Recon.
This vest has a hood.
Okay. We do need to talk about that piece.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah. That piece is legit. That's one of my favorite pieces. I did a review on that system last year, and that piece is legit. I have talked to a lot of companies to try to get a similar piece made for years. Mm-hmm. And when Black Ovis came out with that, I was ecstatic. It's a game changer.
It's have used that vest in my work, like because I'm still doing dairy thing a couple days a week, and I still like to go look at cows in adverse conditions. And of course. Of that. Yeah, dude, that's one of the pieces that always goes with me. If I can keep my core warm, my arms do fine.
Oh, 100%.
My legs
Same.
do fine.
Same scenario.
Now my head's a different story. I got a bald head. I got to keep, got to keep a beanie on or something.
Yep.
That's another thing I always bring.
Same.
Doesn't matter what time of year. I'm always bringing a beanie in my lid.
Yep. Same.
But that vest, I think for me, that is a piece that I will always carry.
Yeah.
Always.
I totally agree with you. I love it. And
it
having a hood on
nothing.
that, it's the same thing I talked about with my mid layers. I want a hood.
There you go.
I really do. I put it on for a reason during that time of year. That vest has got it. Checks all those boxes.
Okay, dang it. I'm back to stacking hoods.
It layers really well.
It does.
It layers really well.
It really does.
So I've been super happy with that.
That can take up a lot of forgiveness. Now, if I take that and I take a grid fleece, I won't take my
Duckworth.
That
makes sense.
Yep. I won't take it.
Reasonable.
I don't need it.
Yep. Absolutely. That makes sense. And that little Cascade, I'm pretty sure it is the Cascade vest from Black Ovis. That little vest makes a nice little pillow too.
Ooh, another pro tip.
Yep. Throw that thing over your pillow. Get a little bit of that soft down insulation. That's a nice little piece.
Dude, if you got the setup like I was talking about with my Cub,
that's so smart.
The puffy
I can't believe I haven't done
with
that.
The vest in there. Yep. Throw that in there as your pillow.
That's smart. Ooh. I think I know where I'm headed.
Mountain naps too.
Yeah, I like me a good mountain nap. Okay, I think we've covered most of the layers.
This was fun.
Puffy pants. This was really fun. We're pushing an hour. We just got over it. I do have some rapid fire stuff that I want to kind of hit with this. One thing before that though. Okay. Give me your favorite piece 2024.
You mean 2025 or
no? Last year's piece.
Last year's
your
piece,
favorite piece. You only get to pick one.
Only get to pick one. Gosh. Duckworth hoodie.
Okay. I like it.
Yep. How about you?
That jacket we talked about.
That
Foundry jacket.
Gosh, I got to buy it.
Bulletproof. Used it all the time.
I got to buy it.
I loved it. Okay. Ready for some rapid fire?
Let's go.
Okay.
Now, how do we play this?
We're going to go fast. Okay. We can come back and talk about it if we want later.
One word, 2 words.
I'll give you 2 words.
Okay.
Because
2 words.
Some of it you might have to have 2 words.
Okay.
Okay. Must have abstract gear item always in your pack.
Golly.
This was
abstract.
Yep.
Freaking coffee press. AeroPress.
Yep. Nailed it. I love it. Okay. Are you a calorie counter on a hunt for your food?
No.
Pillow or no pillow?
Pillow.
Toothbrush or no?
Absolutely toothbrush.
Soap?
No.
Bladder or Nalgene?
Nalgene.
Boom.
Love it, man.
I like it. Yeah. This one could have got long. I think we did a good job kind of reining it in.
Good job, dude.
Reining it in. This was great.
Until next time, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of these sitting around the Mountain Dude table where we'll break down lots of gear talks. So, and if you guys, for the listeners, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for kind of joining us in on this journey. It's going to continue to grow. Leave us some comments if you have questions about the gear that we talked about. Leave a comment, and I will get on there and answer some questions and clarify with some things.
We love it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
Until next time, keep your eyes on the summit. This is the Mountain Dude Podcast, signing off.